Hi there, I'm Pratima Scholl,
And I'm Jeff Scholl.
and this is A Path to Peace, our channel, and we're doing a series, A Path to Peace in Marriage. And today we're going to talk about the 7 spiritual covenants.
As it relates to spiritual relationships. And before we did the 5 love languages, we touched a little bit on some different aspects of spiritual relationships, and we probably didn't go into that in enough detail, and so we wanted to get back to that topic and explain this in more detail. And we wanted to distinguish the difference between what a spiritual relationship is versus an old world relationship that was entered into primarily for survival and procreation. A spiritual relationship is formed when 2 or more people come together for the purpose of spiritual growth. And so we're going to be talking about that and a series of covenants that we learned. And actually, Pratima included these in her wedding vows to me when we got married over 15 years ago.
Yeah. So there are 7 of them, so we'll do at least 6 or 7 videos to cover 1 or 2 apiece because they're pretty weighty.
Right.
It's some good information to talk about again after all these years, right?
Right.
All right, so the first spiritual covenant is primary purpose for being in a spiritually based, loving relationship is to support each other's spiritual growth.
And so this is something, I know that a lot of people before they go into a marriage is to sit down with a counselor and to go through premarital counseling. And I think that this is not a topic that I had ever discussed outside of my spiritual life coach before I got married. But I think it's an important agreement to kind of come to when you get married is to that we're not just going to support each other's goals, we're going to support each other's spiritual growth. And there's a difference between just a spiritual growth and your conscious evolution as a soul. And Pratima and I were talking about this in our before we sat down and started recording, and openly acknowledged and recognized that when we started our relationship, we started out on that path, and we kind of fell out of it for several years, and kind of fell into some, just normal relationship patterns. And only in the last year have we stepped up our growth and started consciously creating a spiritual relationship, and not just with each other, but with our child and in our work, because everything that we do, all the relationships that we have, essentially are spiritual relationships.
Yeah, but in marriage, it's more of a conscious choice. And I would say that in my first marriage, this was not important, or this was not the reason that I got into a relationship with him, was to support my spiritual growth. I was doing my own spiritual growth, and I'm glad that I have a partner to grow with. And not everybody does.
Right.
That's married, and maybe one partner wants to take on a spiritual growth experience and the other one doesn't, and that's okay.
Right. And what happens a lot of times, and I can tell you this happened with me in my first marriage, that we both started down kind of a spiritual relationship, sort of a spiritual growth path. And along the way, she didn't want to grow anymore, or it didn't seem to me that she wanted to grow anymore. And I was committed to it. And so we kind of drifted apart. But that doesn't mean that every relationship that one partner wants to grow and one doesn't has to fall apart. I think perhaps that could have gone differently if I knew today, or if I knew then what I know today. I'm glad, for the sake of Pratima and I's relationship, that it didn't go differently. But if you're my point is if you're in one of those relationships, it doesn't have to end in divorce. It doesn't have to end in separation. But I can tell you, one of the things that happened is when I grew and she didn't, I became resentful and I became angry, and I, had it in my head that she should be growing with me, that was, and that judgment of her is something that I think harmed our relationship. And so if you're in a relationship and you're growing and your partner isn't, let them be. Don't judge them for where they're at on their journey. That's about their soul, not yours. Focus on your journey focus on your growth and be as loving and compassionate and understanding with them as you can be. Because if they see that your spiritual path is bringing you misery, why would it inspire them to want to follow that path? If they see that your path is bringing you peace and love and joy, that's what will inspire them to want to follow in your footsteps.
Right. And if a relationship does end up in separation and or divorce, maybe that's the way that that journey was supposed to go. So that, I mean, I am glad that my first relationship, I did leave that relationship because I knew that I wanted something better for myself. And so I think that we've worked very hard at our relationship because it is our second.
Right.
And we want it to be everything that we want it to be.
Right. So that's the first spiritual covenant, and we will continue on to the second one. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe.